Hi, everybody. You are listening to Judging Meghan with your host, Meghan Judge. I am honored today to be talking to Randy Spelling. I think a lot of people know who you are, but I'm just excited to have you on and talk about your life and talk about what you're doing now. Randy is a holistic life coach. He is a business coach. He's a former actor and author, and probably a lot of people know you as Aaron and Candy Spelling's son, your sister's Tori Spelling. But I want to hear about you and what you're doing today with your life. You're also a husband and a dad, and you left LA for Oregon. So I want to find out all about what you're doing today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Megan. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to get into all the things with you today.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to start out asking you, tell me a little bit about, I'm sure everybody asks you what it was like growing up in Hollywood with your dad and all like Dynasty and 90210 and all the shows that he was so famous for. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so it's so funny, other people's perspective of it versus me being in it. It is so very different. And I try to see it from both angles. So for me, this was my family. This is what I knew. So before I was old enough to understand more about the entertainment business and how people viewed it and some of the what used to feel more like glitz and glamour was just life for me. My dad was a producer and he went to work and he was busy. And while we got to spend a lot of quality time together, I wanted to spend more time with him. And, what can we do on the weekends to play? Let's play basketball. It was all that part was very normal. You'll have to forgive me. My dog has decided to scratch her back on my couch today.
Oh my
She's
gosh, don't
nesting in.
and that's part of recording from home, by the way. I don't know if you heard my 12-year-old, she was just singing and I
I
have
didn't.
two, she's in the background singing, so I was sitting here going, "Oh gosh." And then my two Labradors are behind me. That's the podcasting world of
Yeah.
podcasting from home and recording from home. It's totally
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Wonderful. Glad you see me and accept me here.
And I also love animals, so you came to the right place.
Oh, good.
They're always
Okay.
showing in the background of my podcast, usually
Yeah,
scratching, same thing. But
they're
so
the real stars.
you were saying what it was like just being a normal kid and your dad was busy and working on sets all
Mhm.
the time, I'm assuming, and just it was no different than most kids, but you just happened to have the family that you had, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So the parts that I guess were a little bit more outrageous, glitzy, fun were things that people saw over the years. Like there was a very famous picture and time that happened when we were supposed to go up to the mountains. In being in LA, it was Big Bear. That was the closest, Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear. And for some reason, we had to cancel the trip. We couldn't go, and I was devastated. I loved traveling, loved trips, and I wanted to go to the snow. And I remember being in my room so bummed out, and then someone said, "Hey, come downstairs, come outside." And I begrudgingly, head hung low, went outside, went down and around this corner and that corner, and down this flight of stairs from the pool to where the tennis court was. And on the tennis court was a snow machine, and they were blowing snow on the tennis court to make a sledding hill for my sister and I to slide down. So the idea was if we can't go to the mountain will be brought to us. And, there are things like that most kids don't get to experience, right? That is
Yeah.
way over the top and fun and wild. And so there are things like that. We had wonderful Christmas Eve parties that were a fond memory. I got a chance to see a lot of actors and actresses. And again, to me, before I knew who they were people like anyone else. What was really interesting, though, Megan, was to see other people's reaction to those people. And as someone who was sensitive and read people and read the room and was feeling, reading everyone. That was an interesting dynamic because you would very quickly see how those people would be treated different, or they had a certain charisma, or there was something where you could easily go, okay, that person must be important. And I saw the way that my dad was treated. And
Hmm.
then when I got older and my sister Tori was on a hit television show, 90210, I'd go to the mall with her and I would see how she would get treated. And so it was just a very interesting, kind of wild and crazy childhood.
Did you, I would love to know if you felt like people were in it for the wrong reasons with you, just
Mm,
because you happen to have the last name that you did. I mean, again, I was in the business, or I, in quotes, was in the business, aspiring actress.
hmm
We live in LA. I know how people are here, that people are very much opportunistic, looking for always to get ahead, that kind of stuff. I wonder if that was hard for you growing up, if you felt like as a young boy, people wanted to be your friend for being Randy, or they wanted to be your friend for being Randy Spelling.
I didn't make that distinction early on because I think when you're really little,
Hmm.
it might be more of a non-issue. The older that I got, though, the more I would start to put things together. I feel like I had a pretty good radar for people. If I felt fakeness or
Hmm.
people were just wanted to be friends with me to ask me questions about my family, I would very quickly just move on. I was lucky to establish a really good core group of friends from school early on, so that kept me very grounded. And I'd like to say that dating wise, again, I had the same radar, but you kind of get caught up in late teens, early 20s. So I'm sure there was some of that maybe mystique of, oh, that's his family, or if someone was in the business. But funny enough, I didn't date long term a lot of actresses or people in the business because probably for that reason.
You were probably guarded and had just automatically your guard up. What was it like growing up and just feeling like, I mean, obviously, I'm of the age that I watched 90210. It was my favorite. I was in love with Dylan.
Hmm
He was my main crush. Um, Having a sister too, that you were, the younger brother, you were talking about going to the mall and she was getting the attention. Was that hard for you, having to deal with that, being the kid that kind of wasn't in the spotlight like she was?
So, two answers to your question. One was I was a 90210 fan myself. My dad shows previously Dynasty, Charlie's Angels, Love Boat, Fantasy Island, all these big 70s and 80s shows I was too young to really get into or be a part of. I wanted to watch cartoons. So I
Hmm.
didn't get it. 90210 was the first time I I thought, "Oh, this is cool. He's doing a show." And then I would watch this show every week and I watched the rise to fame and how it became such a 90s phenomenon. I mean, just huge. And so that was an interesting thing to witness because it was the only time it felt really close to home. And oh, this is my family. My dad's producing the show. My sister's in it. I never really wanted the spotlight the same way that Tori did,
Hmm.
meaning she knew from very early on. I think her first acting gig was when she was 5. So she wanted to be more front and center. She was really into acting. She did school plays. I was more shy and reserved, so I never really wanted that attention on me in that way. It was only when I was about 15, and I remember I got sick one spring break, and I sort of had a rule that because I got sick a lot as a kid, and then moving into the teenage years, this just carried over that when I got sick, I kind of had to stay home and take it easy. So I thought, what am I going to do with my time? I could have friends over, but I can't really go out. I have a camcorder. I'm going to write a movie. And I think I wrote a 10-minute movie, but I was the troubled teen and the character who was
Mm-hmm.
smoking and brooding and probably all the things that I felt as a teen that I couldn't express. I wrote a character for. And then I got to that out. And even though it was awful, it was it was my first taste of, oh, I could play around expressing emotions in a different way. And I didn't have an outlet to do that. So this was a way to do that. 3 months later, we were in Las Vegas at the Caesar's Palace Forum Shops, which had just opened a couple years before, and it was all the rage. And my whole family went. We were walking, and my father and my sister started getting mobbed. Security came, and there was about 300 people. And I was off to the side watching all of these interactions happen and people fanning themselves and smiling and going, he was so nice. Oh my gosh, she was amazing. I met Donna, who is her character, and I watched something happen. And I didn't realize this at the time. It was only in retrospect I understood what was happening. But I saw people that otherwise would completely pass by and have any point of connection stop, freak out, be so happy. And something about them felt different. I saw the look on their face and I saw what it meant for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first time that I thought that I want that because it's a way that I can impact people. And I didn't know I didn't know that I was gonna be a life coach or any sort of motivational, inspirational guy whatsoever. So I thought maybe at one point I would be a doctor. So I thought, oh, this is my way to have an impact. And it's quick.
Yeah.
What led me into acting.
So then you got into acting, and
Mhm.
then did you go to college? I
I
couldn't.
did not go to college. I had
Okay.
planned to go to college. I'd planned to go to USC.
Mm-hmm.
mm, And then I got a show working on a soap opera. And at the time, I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be in the entertainment business. And I decided not to go to college and to work full time on this show. And I will tell you that it's one of the things that I probably have held regret over most of my life. And that I'm not smart, not that I can't learn on my own, but I don't know. It just felt like, oh, I skipped something that I should have done.
I'm going to tell you, my husband was a working actor, a child actor, and kind of grew up in the business. And he went to UCLA, and then he left because he was working so much he couldn't
Mm,
stay in school. And he says the same thing. He's always like, "Oh, I wish I could go back, but now it's been too long, and
yeah.
I kind of wish I would have done it." But you know, life brings you your own experiences. And as we know now, I have a 16 and a 12-year-old daughter. I'm sitting here going, what is college with AI and all the things even going
It's
to
true.
be, you
Yeah.
know? So I would love to know, because I did watch your reality show that you did. Like, when was that? That was like 10 years ago. Am I allowed to bring?
You
Because
can
it,
bring it up. It's really funny that you say this because I was just talking with my daughter the other day about this
uh-huh.
show. That show was the worst and best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay, because that's
Equally.
what I was going to ask you, because I'm sitting here with you right now and you're like, and obviously you've gone through some things since then. So that's kind of why I brought it up. And if you're comfortable talking about it, because it was a show, what was it called? I'm so sorry, I wrote it
It
down.
was called Sons of Hollywood.
Okay. So I actually watched the entire show, and I watched a lot of reality back in the day. And the person sitting with me now is not the person. I mean, and granted, it's reality TV, so it's you have to amp it up. But it was a show about obviously, guys, a group of guy friends that grew up in Hollywood and had famous dads, whether it be producers, whatever it is, and you were kind of trying to make your way. but there was a lot of partying and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I wanted to ask you, is that where the shift took place for you to get to where you are now, which is a completely different life?
Yes. So, by the way, that show was an amped up version of reality.
Mm-hmm.
I never, ever, I was really kind of a private person, so I never really wanted to do reality. And my agent at the time kept telling me, this is what you need to do. Everything's going into reality, and you should do this show. You should do this show. And I said, no way, no way. And there was someone else that was supposed to be in the show. It wasn't me from the beginning. So already had pitched this show, had this show, and then he was saying to me, Rand, you have to do this. This is like the next iteration. And I wasn't clear. I was mired deeply in addiction at that point. I
Mm-hmm.
was drinking, I was doing drugs, I was not doing well. Even though I was semi-functioning, I wasn't really functioning that well. But I thought, okay, this is just what I'm supposed to do. So I did it. And I very quickly realized, oh, this is a bad idea. But I'd signed a contract. I'm in the middle of doing it. And right before we started filming, my father, who had throat cancer
Mm-hmm.
and was in remission, started to get dementia, and it started to get a lot worse. He had had dementia for a few years, but he started to take a turn where it looked like, hey, maybe in the next year, he could not be here anymore. And again, being a private person, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm shooting a reality show that, by the way, is not scripted at all. So it's amped up and exaggerated, but it's not scripted. So there's cameras on us 20 hours of the day. Even when there wasn't a crew, there were cameras in the room. I'm deep in addiction, trying to figure out, trying to deal with my dad who's going to pass soon, which he passed away while we were filming the show. A
Mm-hmm.
month into filming the show, 5, 6 weeks into filming the show, he passes away. There's a lot of family drama that happens around that time. It was public, and it just felt like my world was a complete roller coaster with no stop button. And I the as I say, the wheels came off the bus. My addiction got worse. I couldn't deal with the grief of my father. I didn't know how. And so it was just a horrible, horrible, horrible time, and a time where it got captured on camera. And the last thing I'll say about this is even the title itself, Sons of Hollywood, is kind of the antithesis of who I am. I am
Mm-hmm.
not a showy person. I'm not a flaunty. Ooh, look at me. Here's who I am. Here's my last name. If anything, I played against it my whole life to try to fit in. So now I'm doing a show that's a little bit more ostentatious and playing on that. And it just felt like I was doing the most inauthentic thing I could possibly do. If my soul wasn't a trusting adventurer and, hey, okay, you do what you need to do down here, it felt like it was cringing.
I think too, I mean, you were fairly young when you lost your dad, correct?
Yeah. Hmm.
So, I mean, I hope you, I mean, obviously you're a life coach and you've had all this success on your own in your life, but just cut yourself a break. I mean, God, just to make you feel better, I did a documentary when I was young called Boobs. I'm not lying. It was about boobs. And I mean, they don't show them or anything,
Yeah.
but we do things when we're young that if you Google me, that's always going to come up. I remember watching it. I don't remember it very well because it was like a decade ago, but I do remember watching it. And now that you kind of bring it up, you're reminding me that if I think about it and what you just said, I think it's really actually incredible because you were sitting here grieving your dad. This was just your dad to you. You've spent your entire life living in a fishbowl, where most people, yeah, you had all the things, tennis courts, and the snow was brought to you, and your dad and mom gave you all the stuff. But it doesn't mean that you're not a human being and you're not going to go through loss and grief. And I lost my dad at 13, and I still carry the loss of my dad. I lost my sister at 2. I lost
Wow.
my best friend at 28. So I've gone through a lot of loss. And I
Yeah.
can't even imagine what it would be like having to go through that with cameras on you. And not to mention the fact that you're drinking. It was a show about partying and all the things and fame. So if anything, thinking about that time, I remember thinking you in particular on that show were the one that made me feel like this is a real person,
Mm,
where the other, I can't remember how many people were on it. I just, when you say that, it reminded me of kind of
yeah.
what was going down. So I
Thank
hope
you.
you,
Thank
I
you
hope
for,
you know that as if you were at least thinking about
yeah.
what I saw those years ago.
No, thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's so funny because I feel like such a different person now,
Hmm.
and I'm doing very different things. The way that I walk in the world is very different. But I will hear a sentiment like that, and people, someone wrote me the other day and said, "Hey, we got into trouble and we're in the middle of the road, and you were 18, and you and your friends stopped, and you helped us and talked to us, and you made such a difference." And there were things where I have to put that together and go, oh, wait, but I still had the same heart. I was me, even though that felt like a past life. There's still a similar thread that runs through,
Yeah. So
you know?
let's talk about that was kind of like your rock bottom, you said.
Yeah. So,
What made you all of a sudden go, I've had it. Bye bye Hollywood. Let me move to Oregon and have a
that show.
family.
So,
That show.
so,
Okay.
so here's where I say it was the worst and the best.
Mhm.
When it aired, when I watched the episodes, and after I filmed that show, my dad passed away. I got clean. And then I got a chance to watch this show, and I just was cringing the whole time. Not just because of what I was doing on certain nights or different, but just the fact that I did it in the first place, the fact that I knew what I was feeling like inside and how inauthentic it was. So it was like I could feel the pain and see the pain, and it was painful to watch that. And then when I got clean, I thought, what am I doing? I I almost died, by the way, about 6 different times. I had 1 to 2 out of body experiences. I mean, my friends thought they were gonna find me dead. A couple of them busted down my door. I mean, it got really bad. And so the fact that I had this second chance on life, I quickly started asking myself, who do you want to be? What do you want to do here on this planet with your time here? And I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I knew that I wanted a deeper level of fulfillment than just being known.
Mhm.
Or, I did love the creative part of acting, but some of the business I didn't love at the time. And I didn't have the groundedness, and I didn't have the gumption and the ability to deal with it the way that I probably would now. I needed to find myself. So that show allowed me to ask the deeper questions that I needed to then go, what do you want to do with your life? How do you want to matter? What impact do you want to have? And that led me to life coaching and taking a life coaching course. I didn't know I was going to become a life coach, just thought great interpersonal skills. I was always into spirituality and psychology. Um, so it was like, this is great. And then it was suggested that I coach as many people as possible. I started coaching people, and just something about that dynamic of asking people questions, people sharing and unearthing deeper parts of who they were, what they wanted, and figuring that out with them, I fell in love with it. And it helped me as a person to grow as well.
And I think too, and I talk about this a lot. We all get to a certain point in our lives. Life is short, like they say. It really is. I mean,
Mhm.
my life has flown by. I can't even believe I'm the age that I am, and my kids are already the age that they are. But I do think that sometimes in life, we all have to kind of hit a rock bottom, whether it be drugs and alcohol use, or in my case, in 2020, I kind of had this breakdown of realizing that my life, like I was diagnosed with complex PTSD and all of my stuff caught up to me.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what happens. And in some ways, don't you think it's a gift? A gift to be able to say, you know what? That's not really who I am. And the authentic piece of me had to learn maybe the hard way. And for you, oh, it's documented. But like I said, I don't think you need to be hard on yourself because you, to me, came across as the one that really had depth. So I think that that is one of the biggest lessons that you can learn in life is that we're all going to fall. We're all going to lose people, but it's how you pick yourself up and you kind of decide to give back with your life. And that's obviously what you're doing. And it's really, really incredibly powerful, to be honest with you, that you've taken yourself out. I don't know very many people that have had the life that you have had that would take it themselves out of it and kind of start over and give back. And that's huge.
Thank you for saying that. You know, as a parent, that's one of the hardest things, hardest lessons for me that I continuously remind myself of is that the struggles that we have in life, I've sat in rooms full of people and they have talked about their deepest struggles, and yet their deepest struggles carved the path to walk where they are now, to walk to where they're at, to get to where they're at. And it is wild and actually so amazing to hear different stories and hear, oh yeah, I went through this, but I went through this and then it led me to here. This is how we grow and this is how we get redirected. Usually when things are wonderful and beautiful and amazing, we want to stay there because it's wonderful, beautiful, and amazing. So it's rare to then take a huge turn from that. It's only when we start to get uncomfortable or emotions come up or grief comes up or trauma, complex trauma, you start to get met with that to then go, okay, I can't move forward in this exact direction anymore. I need to pivot in some direction.
And then, so you ended up in Oregon and got married, and now you've small kids or older?
I
How
have a
old are?
15-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Oh, okay. So you're in it. Do you have girls?
I have two girls.
Oh, God. Welcome. Welcome to
Thank you.
the
Wow.
good times.
It is a club to be welcome to. I
Yeah.
wouldn't trade it for anything. Uh, and it is you never know what you're going to get day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
challenging but having, obviously, I have girls very similar in age and
Hmm.
all the fun things that go with having a teenage daughter. But it's also really great being a parent to, I'm assuming my husband is a dad to two girls. So tell me about being a dad to two girls for you, what that's like.
I don't know any different, but
Hmm.
I'm so grateful and so thankful, and I feel like I have been trained well, and they are training me well equally. Sitting with people, working with people day in, day out, I think has trained me well to be able to listen and deal with things that come up but also I get to learn so much from them. And it is, yeah, they're these amazing beings where something can feel really big in the moment. And then it also passes very quickly too. And my oldest is learning to drive right now, so
Mm.
that's a whole fun experience is
Oh,
sitting
it's
in the
great.
passenger seat. Woo! Oh yeah,
It's
you just got through
terrifying.
it, right?
We're still in it because she
Okay.
decided, thank God, to get her license a little later. So we're in driving lessons and she asked
Yeah.
me to take her driving and I said, that's dad's job. I can't do that. It's an interesting, great age in a lot of ways. It's also extremely challenging mother-daughter stuff, so different than dads and daughters. Um,
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your coaching business and what and specifically who you work with.
hmm So when I started, I was just a pretty generalized life coach, just like the title suggests. It was, what do you need help with? A big word was shift. What do you want to shift in your life? And what's your goal or goals? Where do you want to be? So I had people coming to me, whether it was health, wellness, weight loss, relationship, um, money, starting a business, pivoting from a career to another career. And then I started working with people. I'm a deep person, period. I'll just put it out there. So I don't work surface level. And when I work with people, it's always at the deepest level to get to real transformation. Because otherwise, it's sort of great. We have a goal and we get to the goal, but what is your goal underneath the goal? Because sure, everyone wants more money. Great. But what's the goal? What's going to make you fulfilled so that you feel that you have a better quality of life? Because money, for instance, can help give you more choices,
Hmm.
but it doesn't take away the way that you feel when you wake up in the morning and you're upset about something, depressed about something, anxious about something. You might be anxious about money and then you have money and you're anxious about losing the money, or you're anxious about having enough money, or then you're anxious about something totally different because now that that is solved, as you know, it's like Google. What else can I look up? What else can I worry about? What else can I,
Hmm.
what if? So it's really helping people to repattern their thoughts, um, the way that they view themselves. I work predominantly with people who want to feel more confident, who want to be aligned with their purpose and be really clear on who they are, why they're here, and how to filter everything else in their life through that.
And how, as far as moving to Oregon,
Mhm.
like why did you decide to leave LA? You just wanted a whole fresh start to do it?
Yeah, at the time, my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, but we were dating, and she said, "Would you ever consider going anywhere else? Where would you go? How long would you be here?" And she just started asking a set of questions that I never really asked myself because being someone who's in the business and having family and friends, I just thought this was my life. And because I didn't go away to college, I didn't have that experience. And I started to try that on. What would it look like to live somewhere else? What's actually keeping me here? And then this bigger question, who do I want to be? How do I want my life to look? And I think without even realizing that I was thinking about kids, there was a part of me that knew I would like to not raise kids in LA. Not that it's terrible or bad, but um, I wanted a different, maybe more grounded, more simple experience.
Was
And
it like
I
also
needed,
just a fresh start kind of thing where
yeah, I think I needed that. I
mhm.
needed to know who I was outside of my environment. And the only environment that I knew was Los Angeles, which equaled my family, which equaled the entertainment business. And I was like, how do I exist just me? And so moving to Portland was a way, it's like, what lights me up? I love nature. I love trees. I love moss. It was a big thing. I was like, I'm going to a place there's moss and rain. I know this sounds funny, but growing up in Los Angeles, I would pray for rain or snow or weather or something. So I was excited for the rain here. Now I don't know if I love it as much, but I was excited for the rain.
Yeah, it's kind of I grew up in DC and in the summers we would always have these I grew up in Potomac,
Oh
Maryland. We would
yeah.
always have these amazing thunderstorms, and you can smell it after the thunderstorm. I'm sure
Yeah.
you have it there too. And I've lived here like 30 years. It's like Groundhog Day. Every day is the same, and it's beautiful, and you go outside and it's always sunny unless it's El Nino in the winter.
Hmm.
Um, but it is true. It's so to be if you're a person that loves nature, it's good for your soul, I think. I live at the beach, so I walk on the beach every day, and I tell my listeners if they're struggling with their mental health, go outside, be like one
Yeah.
with nature. I bet you probably say the same thing. It's so important for our mind and our body, right?
Megan, I say this all the time, and it's so funny working with people professionally for 18 plus years. You would think there are these complex ideas that I give to people, and sometimes some of my messaging is the most simple, just like you say. When you're in your head all day long and you're trying to problem solve and figure out, and you're looking at the future and what's going to happen and how's it going to work, and you're feeling all these things, stepping outside into nature and watching wind move through trees, seeing birds fly around, it is a complete and quick shift from this internal to external. And you look at the external world, and there's birds that are singing and flying and playing. And it's such a quick reminder because it's primitive. It exists within us. It's like we all have a child within us, and you see children playing, and there's that moment of, oh, right, maybe I should play more. It's just such a quick reminder to get us back into homeostasis of life is happening. And when it's not happening inside and it's starting to clog up, we need to let it flow by going outside.
I think that's amazing. One last thing I want to ask you is, so you said something in the beginning that struck me, and it's so true. We're all people. So you grew up, you know, with fame, and you told the story about going to the mall and seeing all the people stare, kind of growing up in that fishbowl. What is the biggest thing that you learned by leaving and getting sober and all the things about just being a person, and why fame and fortune and all those things don't really matter? And bad things happen to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, right? We're all just people. You said that in the beginning.
Here's what I've learned: the human struggle is real, it's not for the faint of heart. It can be challenging, it can be cruel, and it can be beautiful and wonderful. Money does not alleviate those things. And I think, unfortunately, it's been glorified and put on a pedestal. Can it make things easier? Absolutely. And I've been in places where I've had everything, and I've been in places where I've had very little.
Hmm.
And sure, is it more comfortable to have versus not have? Yes. Does it take away the human experience? You said it yourself. You lost. You went through a lot of loss and very early on. Money doesn't help with that. Money doesn't help how you're feeling inside when you lose a loved one and you just want to hug that person and get them back. Money doesn't take away pain. And so I think why I'm so glad that you asked this, and why I would want to share this is I've been on both sides, and I can tell you, I feel like it's so easy for people to go, well, I'm going to write that person off because they're a celebrity or they've had money. It must be so easy. Being human is not easy, period. End stop. It is not easy. And I think when we can all share in the fact that we are human, navigating the same emotions, and really at the end of the day, the same desires might change a little bit, but we all we want the best for our families. We want to have a good life and hopefully have some meaning to it. And I think when those things can be looked at and unearthed, and if you can be an archaeologist and dig up those things, then the rest is a bonus. But the fundamental need of feeling purposeful, connecting with others, yourself, maybe something greater like nature, or, some sense of higher power, whatever that would be for any of you listening.
Spirituality, yeah, anything like
Spirituality.
that. Yeah.
Um, Quick story to sort of end this. I remember once this was maybe 5, 6 years ago. I was in Hawaii and I was at this little uh, condo that we rented, and the kids are playing in the pool, and it was nice. It wasn't incredible. It wasn't anything over the top by any means. Okay. It was affordable. It was nice. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I was looking at the fauna and everything around me, and I just wanted to sink in. I was like, I'm in Hawaii. The kids are here. This is perfect, right? This is great. But I wasn't sinking in. I wasn't feeling. And then I noticed my mind was like, ooh, but if, at one point, Randy, you could be, I don't know what hotel, you could be at this resort and it would be so much better. And my mind was trying to take me to, if I could recreate this, but better, somehow that would give me the fulfillment that I was wanting in the moment. And I actually watched this play out, Meghan. I watched it as a scene unfolding like a movie. I could go to this resort, and then I could go to the Four Seasons, and then I could go to whatever is potentially beyond that. And it's more luxurious. But what I was wanting in that moment wasn't luxury. My mind was trying to take me to the better and the bigger. Why I wasn't sinking in and really connecting in the moment, because I wasn't connected to anything spiritual. I wasn't being present. And in that moment that it hit me and I saw this, a little bird flew up to me. And I kid you not, it came right up to me this close for 2 minutes. And it was looking at me and I was looking at it. And then I could almost get teary-eyed thinking of it right now, because it was that one moment that I realized that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the Four Seasons or the Ritz. That's a bonus if I get there, but that's not what I'm in search of. I'm in search of my soul feeling at ease, playing out this human experience, remembering that I am a soul having the human experience.
And also, sorry, but I have to say this, that could have been a sign, because animals, I talk about signs all the time.
Oh, it was for sure
It
a
was for
sign.
maybe
Yes.
your dad. I mean, I'm assuming right now, if you're spiritual and you believe your dad's with you, is probably pretty darn proud of you and
Mm,
everything you've accomplished, because it's pretty incredible. There's a
thank you.
reason why people say you can't take it with you, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
some of the happiest people I know have very little. And yes, money helps, but I know people that are incredibly fulfilled in their lives and have very little. And then I've known people that have more than anyone else, and they are the most unhappy people that I've ever met. So I think
Truth.
it's all really how you choose to live this life and what you do for other people. And my dad, who I also lost, used to say, be happy by making other people happy. And I really think that that does make a difference in life. And I think that that's what you're doing and the road that you're taking. So thank you for that.
And thank you for doing what you do, because I think you're taking the very same road.
I hope so. I'm trying. In closing, everyone, if you're listening and you want to follow Randy, where can people find you?
My website, randyspelling.com. And then on social media, I'm pretty active on Instagram. That's also Randy Spelling. Facebook, Randy Spelling. TikTok, Randy Spelling.
So your name is pretty easy to remember. So everyone, please follow Randy. Randy, thank you so much for coming on. I really loved meeting you and talking to you today. Everyone, keep going. You matter. Your story matters.
Thanks for having me, Meghan.
Judging Meghan with Meghan Judge.